Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. More, hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Buzz, buzz, babies. I got a cut on my finger, and typing and doing mouse stuff is messing with me. And I was like, the intro was over, my finger slid off. Life's hard when you're a YouTube streamer, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? Welcome to Blake's Buzz. Yes, you are correct. This is the fourth time you've seen me. I did 4 shows in a row this week. Why? Because I was feeling frisky, I guess. I'm not really sure. It just ended up being a crazy week. Hope everybody's having a good one. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. It's a long-ass weekend. I'm stoked for it. I hope you're stoked for it too. I got a really cool guest tonight, but as you know, we're going to do a quick shout out from tonight's show's sponsor, which continues to be Will Allred with Crossover Division Volume 1, Fictions and Other Truths. It is on its last 24 hours on Kickstarter, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we crossed the funding goal, so the book is happening. But you know what? We got 24 hours to maybe get some stretch goals and some cool back matter into this gorgeous, oversized deluxe hardcover. I've been talking about it. You've been hearing about it. We're going 24 hours left. You're running out of time. Let me hit you with that quick solicit, and then we'll get to the interview. When stories come to life and threaten to fracture reality beyond repair, only an English professor and a research librarian have the knowledge and smarts to save us all. Join Hank Wallace and Hector Ramirez in Crossover Division Volume 1, Fictions and Other Truths, as they encounter the War of the Worlds, Dracula, and Shakespearean tragedy in a small Midwestern town. This limited edition oversized hardcover collects Crossover Divisions issues 1 through 4. Again, I can't sing enough praises for this campaign. It's a really great comic. It's a really great celebration of literature, and I hope you guys check it out. I will post the link in the comments so you guys can do just that. Let me hit this little button here. And now, without further ado, the man who is in all the news, the man who's been doing all the podcasts, he has this huge Zoop campaign. It's explosive. It's amazing. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've got Jason Copland in the house. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So stoked to talk. So happy for the success that you've been having recently, because it's, you know, you took a big career risk where you were like, I've got this crazy idea and I'm gonna chase that instead of doing work that I'm not as passionate about, and now it's all happening, man. Like, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty darn good.
Yeah.
to keep it short and sweet, I'm feeling great about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I am too, man. And I it's crazy how much I hear people just talking about it. Like so many people like know you and respect you and adore you. Like it's such a that's nice, you know, to have like a great position in the community like you have. And everybody's just really, really excited about Full Tilt, you know, and it from what I've seen, it looks just as bonkers as the title. Like, what a great title, right? I almost called tonight's show none of that half tilt bullshit. But I was like, I don't know. Like, I've never put like a bad word in the title before, but we used to say that like at the bar we worked at, you know, like none of that half-fledged shit. Like if we're full-fledged in it tonight, like, but that's what this campaign is. It's all or nothing. You're in it to win it. You've put everything you got into this 350-page monster of an action set piece, with just some absolutely gorgeous pages, and your 22-page spread, which I can't wait to talk about the madness behind that, man. But yeah, so much work. I remember your tweets and seeing the stack of papers get taller and taller as the months went by, right? When you were inking everything. I mean, man, I feel like your arms are about to fall off, dude. Like, are you feeling loosey goosey? You're finally able to like rest?
Yeah, it's been weird. I kind of taken a hiatus from drawing. Once I finished the last few pages, I kind of slipped into this post drawing state where I haven't really done a whole lot of drawing, which feels kind of weird. But I think that it's probably a good idea because I need to sort of recharge that energy for drawing again. Yeah,
Yeah.
down the stretch, it was kind of like, oh God. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to kind of re-energizing and getting going on something different.
Definitely. Yeah.
As bad as that might sound, that I'm like ready to move on, but yeah, this thing was like a 5-year journey, and yeah, I need the closure so I can kind of move on.
Hey man, I get that. Shout out to the chat. What's up, Funny Figs? Thanks for stopping by, Buzz Baby. We got Mr. John Westoff in the house. John says, Jason, does life have any meaning anymore?
Well, yeah. Once I have that book in my hand, I can then die, and yeah. Until then, until I have the actual physical book in my hand, and it won't be done. But
Yeah.
once I have that, yeah, then life, who knows? Yeah, it might as well end.
When you're this tied into a project and this passionate about it, and it's something that like, like very, very creator owned to you, right? And it's this kind of magical entity. Is it hard for you to sell those art pages away? Like, does it feel like selling your kids kind of, or are you like, no, Blake, money's great, sir?
Well, I have to tell you, I never thought that it would fund nearly as fast. I actually thought that it would be like, down to like the last few hours, and I'd be online, please support me. And so the pages are there, were there at the beginning there just to add that little extra, a bigger ticket thing that if people were interested in, they could grab them.
Mhm.
And mostly they were put on there so that I would hit my goal. And then when it hit like in an hour and something, I actually started thinking maybe I should take these things down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, a little bit, because they are pretty precious. I keep looking over. They're just sitting right over there, and I look over at them all the time lovingly. It's going to be interesting letting some of them go, because some of them I've been living with for 5 years. So
Yeah.
but otherwise they'll just sit here on a shelf. So they probably should go to people that find some sort of enjoyment and excitement out of them. So I'm more than happy to let them go at this point. There are 2 pages that I will not sell. Those are mine forever. But the other ones I'll let them go. They need a home.
I'm gonna have to circle back when I finally get to read this and see what the like the ultimate pages were that you couldn't get rid of. If I was you, right, I would not be doing this. I'd be making comics, which would be pretty dope. But if I like the 22 page like ultimate scroll spread, like, man, like that would just look cool as like a border around the wall or something, like just have it like run along, like, because you couldn't really get a frame for it. You'd have to like laminate it or something and like keep it safe somehow. But just to like, that would be what I would want somewhere in my house, like in prominent display, just like whoever comes over, even if it's like the UPS guy, but dude, come here, you gotta look at, like, I did this, like I did this whole thing.
Well, there is a thing on the Zoop site there that say that if you're interested in getting a print, it's going to be like a high like an art edition or whatever of the whole thing. Then to message them and they'll kind of set it up. But I'm going to get one. I will get one. But they kind of quoted, it wasn't a solid quote, but it was going to be like a couple $100.
Yeah,
so
I figured it wouldn't be cheap.
Yeah, so I it's not something that I'm really pushing on people, but I think that yeah, I'll get one.
Nice.
I mean, I have to.
So yeah, it's you're on Zoop, and we'll bring up the page in just a moment. But I've heard a lot of good things about Zoop, especially for people with like more established careers and bigger audiences. But it really feels like Zoop goes the extra mile to kind of like cater to you and do a lot. Whereas like Kickstarter, a lot is left like up to your own devices, and then the weight gets put on your own shoulders unless you start paying for like fulfillment centers or places like that to kind of do stuff for you as a third party. And I've heard you talk about this before, like, you're like, I wanted to do this, but I didn't want to do like everything, right? And so Zoop seemed to be the smart choice for you. And I've like your experience with them has been pretty positive, right?
Yeah. Oh, they're fantastic.
Awesome.
As far as I know, it's just the two dudes, Eric
Yeah.
and Jordan. And yeah, I 100%. They're right there for me. So yeah, no regrets at all.
I was so surprised, like when you and I were talking about setting up an interview. I mean, you were setting up interviews with everybody, but like we had started talking, and Zoop actually messaged me, and they were like, Blake, like Jason Copland's doing this, like, and I was like, oh yeah, we're talking, guys. He's going to be on the show. But I mean, like, man, no one at Kickstarter is reaching out to set up interviews unless it's for like Kickstarter employees or stuff like that. Like, I thought that was really, really cool. Just something that you don't see a lot of, right? To kind of like they're like handling a little bit of the press aspect too, because with with crowdfunding, you got to do your own advertisements, right? That's why you're doing so many of these podcasts. Possibly one of the reasons why like this campaign, I mean, it was going to be successful anyway, I think, but I mean, a lot of people will do a couple interviews, right? And then you've got like crazy street magicians like David Pepose who will do like he does like 30 interviews during a Kickstarter month, right? And I remember like I interviewed him one time because we've interviewed a few times now, and he was like, yeah, I did one earlier and I'm doing one after you, and I was like, I'll try really hard not to make this terrible. Because even if you like doing interviews, man, you do 3 a day and you do that a few times a week. I mean, you're going to get burned out, but his campaigns do very well on Kickstarter, and he makes it a habit to do more press than a lot of people. So I think there's some mixing and matching here of just you being smart, doing as much press as you can, as much as you can take. And just the fact that like, those in the know have known about this project for a long time. And then people that follow you have known about it because, you post a lot of regular updates and stuff. And so like I said, you did a really good job building like the buzz factor, right? And that may have been just unintentional, because it may have just been like you were a slave to this narrative for so long. and you just like, you're like, I have to talk about it. Like, this has been my life. Like, look at this stack of pages I got, but all of that ended up really working for this launch. Like, it all came together really, organically and cohesively. And I think that's going to work out well for your podcast too. Like rolling out the podcast out, after doing all this, you got like, there you go. You got the experience. Like we talked about in the green room, you already know like what not to do, right? Like don't come out of the gate trying to get, shitty opinions and name dropping from.
Yeah.
But I'm real excited for that. So, and do you have a launch date yet for the artist podcast?
Oh no,
not yet.
I'm really bad at multitasking, like horrible multitasker. So I just need to make sure that the full tilt stuff it gets done, all the remarked drawings get done, all the commissions get done, and then I can switch gears and
nice.
But yeah, my main goal is to make sure that the full tilt campaign comes off without a hitch, and everyone gets what they ordered and gets it at a reasonable amount of time. I don't want to be one of those people that have people hanging on waiting for stuff. So so I don't really have it figured out as for a launch date. But at some point I will start putting some actual boots on the ground on that and figuring it out. I do have a microphone, so I'm halfway there.
That's awesome, man. I and that's another thing a lot of people are excited about. Like, I wish when I talked about starting Blake's Buzz, people were like, yeah, like that's amazing. Like, I was like, man, that must feel good. when I did it, people were like, I guess. Like, well, are you bored?
It feels good, but they haven't heard the first episode yet. So
Hey, they always start a little rocky, man. It gets better and easier as it goes on, and you care a little bit less and get weirder. Like that's no, I mean, it does take a bit to like kind of find your own voice, get into your own groove, and lose that fear of like, do I sound cool? Like, what do I make? Like, are people gonna think I'm cool? And then eventually you're just like, fuck it, man. I'm Jason, and I'm gonna tell my stories and talk about what I think about art, and this guest is gonna talk about art. And if you guys don't like it, you can go like I don't know, do whatever. Watch YouTube shorts. I don't give a
Well,
shit.
there you
Like,
go. Yeah, yeah, they don't have to come.
yeah,
Actually, that's one of the things that I've been saying that I'm not going to say subscribe and like.
yeah, yeah.
um, I'm not really in it for anything other than to be able to talk to
Nice.
other artists that I admire and who I think are great people, and to have that conversation. So so really, I win every time I make one of those because I'll get to do that. Whether other people come along, that's gravy, but
Yeah.
it'll really be for me. So
Yeah, I say the same thing a lot, but believe it or not, because everybody knows I fucking sold out and do PR now. I didn't like sell out, but I'm like working hard for these people. But I did find a way to monetize, not with the podcast though. So like I just kind of started something else. But
yeah,
I felt that way for a long time, right? Like I'm so guilty of like getting caught up in the numbers, right? And then
yeah.
sometimes you're just like you're kind of bummed and like and and it messes with you sometimes. But I get over that real quick, but it is like it's very magical. I never thought I would be getting to do this, to just like talk about things that I love with people I respect and people that have so much like knowledge of the industry and of the art form and of the medium. And like I learned so much. I have so much fun. Like when I get grumpy sometimes, but when the mic goes live, it's like instantaneous, like feel better, like everything's fine, and I'm in like the zone. And yeah, I wouldn't give that up for anything. And I'm so lucky to be able to do that. And it's so nice to be able to like. It's one thing to talk comics with your friends, which I don't know because some of my friends read comic books really like so. But like I'm in like some discords and Twitter chats and stuff where we just talk comics and stuff, which is great. But it's so different to like do this and also like like to learn about the industry in new ways, learn about new projects, and just get to talk to people that are like fighting in the trenches and shit. It's very cool. It's very rewarding. So I hope it's like that for you, man. Like it
Yeah,
is
thanks.
it is really fun. And when you get a good guest and you really get the vibe and it's great. It's akin to like that con experience where you make like friends at a con, which you don't like cons, so maybe that was a bad analogy
Uh,
to go into.
well, that's the thing I like about cons is being
Oh,
able to talk to other people. So that's
yeah.
kind of where the podcast kind of comes in for me, is that I don't have to fly all the way down to California or whatever to go to a show to see and talk to people that I admire. I could just have them on here. I could stay right here in sunny old Vancouver. But shows are really not my thing.
Yeah, because you've said that.
The flying and the hotel and
Yeah,
the cost. Being Canadian, our dollar's worth like 70% what your dollar's worth. So flying
yeah,
down to a show costs X amount of money. Staying at a hotel, they're all the shows now are like 3 days long, so it's like three at least 3 nights at a hotel, and then
yeah.
food and all that stuff.
Adds up.
I don't make nearly that much back when I go to a show, and
Mhm.
then multiply that by another 30%. They're big losses for me, so I
Yeah.
just stopped going. But I do miss chatting with people for sure. Yeah.
Because that I know you mentioned I didn't know you were Canadian. I obviously did a lot of great research about you before this chat. Sorry. But I mean, yeah, that totally makes sense. So many people keep asking me, they're like, Blake, you going to SDCC? And I'm like, I've been unemployed for 3 months, right? Like I was very open about it and talked about it a
Yeah.
lot. And like,
Yeah.
no, I can't just the same way, like, unless I found someone who's gonna like let this snoring podcaster sleep on your couch for 3 days and use your shower, which seems like a lot to ask. Maybe somebody that liked a post I'd made one time or so, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it gets crazy expensive, but it is. I did my first con in March here in Kansas City, and then I got to be press and I got to do interviews and stuff, and like
Mhm.
it was an eye-opening experience. And just instantly I was like, man, like yeah, like I want to try and go to the Chicago one and like hit up some that are close, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you, man. Like when a plane ticket's involved, and then hotel and lodging and food, plus you got to deal with those
Yeah.
fucking cranky Americans. Like, dude, that's a lot, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even like going and crossing the border for us, like taking stuff down
mhm.
is a pain in the ass, and sometimes bringing stuff back is a pain in the ass. So just going to the shows, it's not just like, oh, I can just hop on a plane with my stuff and fly down. I have to go through customs. I have to like tell them why I'm going, and then if they, for any reason, could say no, and that's a lot of stress for me. So I try to live my life as stress free as possible, and going to shows is just a massive stress. Yeah.
Do you got any local ones like up north that you guys do? I've never heard anybody really talk about like Canada cons or anything like that. Like,
yeah, so Fan Expo does some in Canada. There's one here in Vancouver, Fan Expo Vancouver. There's one there's a couple in Toronto. There's a Fan Expo, Toronto, and then a Fan Expo Canada, which is also in Toronto. And then I think that there might be a Fan Expo in like Montreal or something. But that's east. Like I'm on West Coast, so even flying across Canada is super expensive. So hitting one of those shows still is a loss for me. So
I like how you're going to go down as this like fucking iconic artist in comic books with this like really epic original graphic novel that people are going to talk about for fucking decades. And you're just like, no one will ever see you. Like, you're like they can see you on like shows and on your podcasts and stuff later, but you like don't make public appearances. You're like,
yeah, I'm a bit of
that
a
writer in the
recluse.
woods.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a recluse. Even here in Vancouver, we have like comic jams and stuff like that. Actually, VanCaf just happened last weekend, and I tabled at it like 10 years ago, and it's a very indie show, and my stuff is not really. I mean, indie as in like not necessarily comics. Like, anyways, it's not really the people that are going aren't really looking for something like Full Tilt or Kill All Monsters. They're looking for something a little cuter, something a little more not as not as graphic. I don't know. So I don't even do those shows like that, and that's essentially a free show. And I don't even table at those. So yeah, I'm pretty much a recluse. I don't leave my house very often.
So yeah, this crowdfunding Zoop endeavor then seems to just be like the perfect deal for you. Like you send the pages in and they take care of the fulfillment and stuff. And then you're going to have to do a lot of sketches and stuff. How many remarks are you going to end up having to do? Was it like 80?
No, it was less than that. It was like 50. Although the site went a little wacko and it says 56. I think the numbers got all kind of warped up there. I think there's 50. And then 5 commissions,
wow,
full body commissions. So I've got my work cut out for me. But yeah, I generally don't, and they're Full Tilt characters. I don't draw anybody's IP anymore. I don't draw Batman. I don't draw Hellboy. I don't draw any of that stuff. So, that's one reason why I stopped doing shows too, is that people would always be, oh, can you draw Batman or can you draw? And I was like, I don't really want to. Thanks. And
you're telling like kids bringing their like lawn mowing money, like
exactly.
Can you draw Batman? Like, get out of here, you little shit! I don't draw Batman. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's sort of the way I felt, was sort of like, oh, I don't really want to like shit on the thing that you want me to do, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So see ya. And so I didn't want to have those conversations anymore. It's just really awkward, and I don't like people watching me draw. So sitting there behind the table and having people like, oh, what are you doing, and looking over, God bless them that they're interested, but that's not my thing. I sit here in solitude listening to music with a beverage, and and nobody's watching me, and that's where I draw. So going to a show and having people around and asking me questions, and
it's a stressful thing. I get it.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. So
well, hey man, whatever your thing is, keep doing it, because like you're in a good place right now, and I want to see that continue. So
yeah, thanks.
Stay in that office, baby.
Yeah, you were like alluding to the number of people that were really excited and stuff, which is fantastic, and I appreciate every single person that likes and tweets and gives me any sort of messages. And I think that the success that the campaign's had is really because I've been on social media for touting these pages for like 5 years. I think that was a built-in marketing scheme that didn't that wasn't really on purpose. It was more just because I'm lonely here and I need some sort of engagement. So I would have to put out, what I was working on, a face or a hand. And I've been really careful to make sure that I don't post anything that's spoilery, because there's lots of stuff in this book that nobody knows anything about, which is fantastic, because when they're reading it for the first time, they're right there, experiencing the story, as opposed to reacting to things that they've already known about. So so I'm a little bit proud about the fact that that people don't really know a whole lot about it. It's fantastic that people came out and supported it so early, because now I can breathe and I'm not a jerk to my wife, who's, like, if I was worrying about it hitting the goal, I'd probably be just like this ogre that, just stay downstairs, Jason, just stay downstairs. So I'm easy to live with right now.
Nice. That's good. Happy wife, happy life, happy comments, right?
Exactly.
I'm putting a link to the Zoop campaign in the chat so you guys can check it out. I'm going to bring up the page. We've been talking about it for 26 minutes. I guess we should show it off, right?
Well, yeah,
Here we get a little bit of that Tim Daniel cover.
Oh yeah,
which is so cool. Right? Did he do your logo too?
He did, yeah. And
nice.
He did it just out of like nowhere. Tim's fantastic. Tim is he's a goat, man. That guy can make anything look fantastic.
Yeah.
He's got a design eye like nobody. So I had posted a shot of one of the characters and at full tilt in some font that I just grabbed without anything. And I posted it up, and then a few days later, he's like, "Here, use this one instead." And I'm just like, "Oh, cool. Holy shit, this is such a sweetheart, awesome, man!" And he was just like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Thank God for Tim Daniel. He's a fantastic person, and he's an amazing creator. So, I am stoked. He did the cover, back cover, which I haven't shown, but it continues, but it has some stuff on there. It's pretty cool. Ooh. And then he's going to do the interior design as well. So, nice. So the book's going to look fantastic.
It's going to be a nice fucking book. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to look fantastic. And
I get to say that I'm going to work with Tim sort of in the future, because I work for Invader as their publicist, and he's doing something. They're bringing back an old 215 Inc. property before they change their name to Invader. So they're gonna like reprint Enormous, and then
so
they're gonna reprint it, and then I don't know when the new ones are happening. The first reprint is going to be happening within the next few months, I believe. Watch my boss get really mad at me because I wasn't supposed to talk about any of this, maybe, but like
you'll have to edit this part out.
We're live. I can't edit shit. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, we've already talked about it. Like, I knew about it before I started working for them, so it's not like a huge secret or anything. But yeah, I'm really excited for that, and to see what they bring, a new cover, new book design, new reprint, and then of course, like, when they start deciding to actually make the new books, I'm really excited. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the comic book place that I work. We're here to talk about Full Tilt, your baby, that just happens to have this gorgeous cover. So yeah, we're sitting at $39,057, coming up on 500 backers. Solid number, sir. And you still got 2 weeks left. And that last week, I mean, it may be slow now, but the last week's going to you're going to get a little pop again, probably.
Well, I hope so. But like I was saying earlier, I didn't really expect it to make funding nearly this fast. I just thought if I'd be lucky to get, 10,000 or maybe 11 or 12, whatever.
What was 10,000 was the goal. Okay.
Yeah. So I could honestly just shut this thing down right now.
And I'm done.
I'd be a happy camper. I know
you got to keep it going. You got to keep it going for some of the people that are waiting for payday or to see how much the next bill costs before they back it. Like, you'll still get some more backers, I promise.
Yeah, well, I hope so. It's I think it's a fantastic book. And this, as far as I know, as far as I have planned, this is it for this type of format. The
really?
Oversized hardcover, massive tome that it is. If it does happen to get picked up by another publisher, I don't see it getting the same treatment. It won't be I highly doubt it would be a hardcover. I highly doubt it would be oversized. It'll probably be, if it does get picked up, it would probably be a soft cover and regular size. So this really is the only opportunity that I can foresee that anyone getting a book like this.
Nice.
And I think it's going to be a fantastic like piece of art as an object. That was sort of my goal when I first started doing it, was that I wanted a nice object to put on the shelf.
Okay.
And yeah, and with Tim doing the design, I know that I've got it. So, but yeah, I would say that if you're sitting on the fence out there, that this is probably the only opportunity that you'll have to have it in this format. I don't plan on doing a big overprint. I don't do shows.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna really hand sell this, and I'm not gonna mail it from my website. Being Canadian, you'd be paying a shitload of money for shipping. So this is really it. Yeah. So that's sort of my hard sell when it comes to this, is that you've got 14 days, and I think then that's it. So,
wow.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about it, this is probably your last 2 weeks to get this book like this.
So did you guys nerd out on like like page weight or paper weight? I mean, like, or did you up for like some nicer materials and stuff too for the book, or like did you have any insight into that part of the design?
Not really. I made sure I've given the Zoop guys notes as to that the paperweight has to be thick enough so that it doesn't bleed through, because it's very Sin City-esque in terms of high contrast, and so if that stuff bleeds through, it will affect the reading of each page. Yeah. So I would like to have fairly thick paper. We didn't talk specifics though. That's still all. I think what's happening is that we're actually going to wait to see how many we need to print. Well,
before you start getting quotes, yeah,
and get a real sense of what it's going to be like. The other thing that I really hope, and again, I don't know if this is even feasible, but at the $50,000 mark, we've got a stretch goal for lay flat binding, which would be fucking fantastic, because there's so many 2-page spreads in this book.
Yeah,
like literally. Like half
gutter loss is a goddamn shame.
Yeah, I know. I've designed it so that so each 2-pager, nothing in the middle is
to make up. Okay.
Yeah, nothing in the middle is like, if you miss it, it's a bit of a drag, but it's not. There's no story elements that are in the middle that you're gonna lose. So I designed it with that in mind. But having the lay flat binding eliminates any fear of anything getting lost, and it would just be fantastic, because it's 320-page book. So right away, holding it, you probably want to put it down, and you want to be able to flip it. And if it's not lay flat, it may be a pain in the ass. You don't want to break the spine or whatever. So so that's the goal. I honestly don't think we're gonna get there, but who knows?
We'll see.
I never thought we'd get to 10,000. So.
So yeah, you got the $30 PDF, the $50 hardcover, and then you can get it signed for $65. So wait, are there still remarks? Oh, looks like you lost one.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But there you said it's out of 56 instead. Okay.
Yeah, I think one got lost today. I don't know. I try not to look at it.
Yeah.
And then whenever we lose one, somebody picks it up again. So
I was about to say, like, it'll probably get snagged real fast. Part of me wants to snag it. I now know what freelance income is like. And I'm understanding that, like, though there is amounts of money in the bank account now, might be different next month. Right. So you got to kind of like be careful what you spend your money on.
Yeah.
Which of course I've never been good at. And so, yeah, it's a new deal I'm learning now. And then here we got some of the original art that's going on that you can still pick up.
Yeah.
And then,
the big
here's the solicit. Here, I'll give you my movie theater voice.
Yeah. You were doing good on that crossover one. I was like, wow, I should hire you to do that shit.
New Manhattan, once the gleaming state-of-the-art city of the 23rd century, is now in the throes of social and moral decay. Its despondent citizens lose themselves in narcotics and high-tech toys. Corrupt law enforcement agencies terrorize the populace. Bloodthirsty fans cheer as indentured gladiators fight death matches to gain their freedom. It's the end of civilization, and the 5 crime families control it all. Massimo Miller, the fiercely loyal consigliere of the Chessa family, narrowly survives an attack that wipes out all 5 of New Manhattan's crime syndicate bosses. As the massacre's lone survivor, the new bosses accuse him of the assassinations and gather their armies to hunt him down. Injured and alone, Miller must battle his way homeward through enemy territory to discover the party responsible for the death of his mentor and make them pay. The choice between love and loyalty brought Massimo Miller to this moment. To make it right, he'll have to go full fucking tilt. Yeah, I changed that last part. I just felt like it needed it. That sounds so cool, even if I didn't make it sound slightly cooler. I am like, what a cool sounding book, like futuristic mafia crime families, this Miller-esque, your style, which is still, you can find its roots, but it's definitely evolved into your own Copland way, and this just like kind of magical noir violent tapestry that you've built across these like obscenely widespreading pages at sometimes, right? Like, dude, I'm so excited for it, man. It's so cool. And I was gonna ask, like, if you were gonna like pitch this around, because I know part of you likes doing your own thing and keeping it your own thing, but I mean, also you got to kind of be thinking now too that you're like, well, I'm on to something, and the people have spoken, and like, I've seen campaigns do a lot less and be a lot less powerful, get picked up by publishers afterwards. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I've had a few publishers reach out to me.
Oh, really?
I never pitched this. Not once did I ever pitch this book to
Wow.
anybody. And so my main focus was to finish the book, get it crowdfunded, and have a copy in my hand. I didn't think beyond that. That was really it. So it was for me. So, but yeah, hitting where we've hit here seems to have brought a bit of attention to the book and to myself from other publishers. But I have not, there's nothing in place.
Yeah. No, you can take your time, man. Like, well, I'm honestly, like, I don't want to goose you up too much, but like, in my opinion, when you got something like this, and when it's going to have this track record behind it now too, right? It's notorious, and it's got like legend behind it, and it's got this pop, and a lot of people are talking about it. Make these motherfuckers thirsty for it. Like, like wait for the good deal. Wait for the, wait for someone to maybe even be like, hey, we want to do another hardcover with maybe a different cover artist or something under our belt. Like,
yeah,
see what happens. Because I just feel like if you don't have options by the end of this campaign, like this medium, it angers me, because this is it's a cool deal that you've done here, man. And like I said, you can't ignore that day one fund, the amount that you're sitting at now, and the fact that people are still talking about it, and just so excited. And not just regular people too, right? Lots of industry professionals are like raving about this book, excited about this book, and already jealous of this book. Like, it's got to feel pretty good, right?
Well, it feels great. It's great. I have a tough time talking about my own work and my own success or whatever. I was a hockey goalie for a while, and I firmly believe in suspicion or superstition. I'm always knocking on wood. I've got wood sitting right here. I never talk about the future of how things. I even don't talk about the present sometimes, about how things are going so great, because
yeah, things can change.
Happen.
That's true.
So I appreciate people saying really nice things. I try not to get too caught up in it, or start believing too much in it, because then that just messes with my head.
Well, then don't get cocky
for
right?
disappointment, which I just I can't. I don't deal with disappointment very well. So that's why I'm so pessimistic, I think, and I downplay stuff, because I don't like being disappointed. I'd rather be surprised than think I'm going to do great and then it failing. So
now, I mentioned that I see a lot of Frank Miller in your art, and I do. But I recently read the Ink Owl finally. And like a lot, I'm seeing like it's in these like, the cityscape, this futuristic cityscape, and these vehicles and these soldiers. Like I'm seeing similarities too between Mobius and the Ink Owl and what you got going on here. Like, are you into any of that?
Well, I have I have it sitting over there, but I got to tell you, I mean, I'm obviously aware of Mobius, and I do appreciate the work that I've seen of his, but it's never been something that I've just kind of slaved over. Miller is definitely one though that that I think my influences come pretty straight through. I do enjoy Mobius, and I have read that. Well, I haven't read it because I tried to read it, and it's so not readable.
It's a lot.
But it looks fantastic. I have a real problem reading comics.
Really?
Yeah, I buy them for the art. I really do. As much as that will piss off a lot of my writer friends. If
you heard it here, folks, writers don't matter.
if I don't really enjoy the artwork, I definitely won't read it. And if it's too wordy or if it's a little too obtuse, I'll usually just my eyes will just kind of glaze over the words, and I'll just focus on the artwork. So I have tons of books. My studio is filled with books, and I would say about 85% of them I've never read. I've looked at them a lot, but I haven't read them. So
I'm not at 85%, but I'm notorious for buying books and not having time to read them. And I buy a lot of omnibuses too, right? So like I buy a lot of these like 1,000-page books, and then I'm like, when am I going to have time to read? Like I read the Ink Owl and I really liked it. And then I ended up buying like Meta Barons and before Ink Owl, after Ink Owl, I bought like everything. So now I have like thousands of pages of this world. And I'm like, I don't have time. Like, and now like with the stuff I'm reading is like, my clients, they want me to read their stuff. So I'm ready to talk about it and hype their work. And then prepping for, I have some big interviews coming that I need to read, some big projects coming on to kind of try and impress, these people. And so I got some big stuff I got to read like there too. And so, yeah, like, I don't know why it makes me happy to get stuff in the mail, and I like taking pictures of them and posting them. But yeah, like I hope it's not 85%, but there's definitely a large portion of my library that I have not read. And some of it I haven't even looked at because it's still in the plastic. Like it's still wrapped in plastic.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a few of those. Yeah. I buy them thinking, oh, I'm totally going to read this. And then they just sit there. It's funny you should say Meta Barons, because I got it up there. I bought that and I was like, that's like, the Inkle. I got about 25% through it and I was just like, this is too much. Like, and I just looked at the beautiful artwork.
It is beautiful. I've flipped through that one. His writing is a lot sometimes. I happen to really like it. So I read the Ink Owl really, really fast. And then it felt like my brain melted and leaked out of my ear and nose. And because it just like the end of it is insane. And I've heard it's one of those books where like you read it all the way through, right? And you just experience it initially. And then later in life, you read it again, maybe a little bit slower, maybe taking some breaks. And then you think about it differently. And it makes you think about life differently. Like I've heard it's almost like this spiritual experience to like go back to the Ink Owl. And I don't know if I believe in that, but I do know that like it left a big impression with me. And I can definitely see how taking more time with it and thinking about what he does could definitely change the experience. But yeah, anyway, I like comic books like that. I like and I feel like this one is going to be similar to that, because I feel like just from what I've seen of the art, I feel like Full Tilt is just going to like drop you into the fire and leave you running off into the distance, like with no time to look behind you, right? Only time to look forward. And so it's going to be like a very easy book to turn the pages quickly. And it's going to be one of those books where you're going to have to remind yourself, like, I'm not spending enough time looking at the art, right? I'm just like, because your art's very detailed. You have a lot of little, you put a lot of detail into these scenes, and you know, you can definitely, you know, benefit from taking your time to really go over the pages. But I feel like this is really high tense and fast paced, and it's going to be, at least on that initial read, hard to slow down. But that's good too, right? So like, I feels like you have a product that is going to be, you know, it's going to, like Sin City, it's good to reread every couple years and think about it differently. Maybe like Sin City, every couple of years you get a cool new edition that because like I know I would love to get those new those new hardcover slipcases that come with the prints of the new Sin City volumes, man. Like, they're so pretty. But yeah, I feel like this is a book that's worth your investment. It's going to be fun to reread. It's going to be fun to go back later, think about it differently. And it's going to be a nice hardcover that's going to hold up and stay good on the shelves. And you'll be able to pull it down and take it for trips to the bathroom or wherever you go to read. And it's going to be okay. It'll last and stand up to the test of time.
It might break your wrists though. I don't know.
I always make the joke, like, people are like, I can't read omnibuses, like, they're uncomfortable, like, I can't do it. And I'm like, man, I've been single for a long time. I've got the forearms for omnibuses.
Ouch. Oh, too much information, man. Too much information.
Sorry.
Well, that's why I want that lay flat binding, so that you can just put it down. You don't have to like really hold it.
Yeah.
It'll just kind of open up, and you can just
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping you get that, man. It's definitely so. And then look at these artists that you have singing. Like, I got to meet Phil. Phil's such good people, but Phil's another amazing artist who's at a high point in his career, speaking about the unparalleled ambition. Like, whoa, like, that sounds good. J.H. Williams, who draws, like, I love Kevin Eastman, baby, but like, JH draws probably the best Ninja Turtles around. A feast of visual drama and action. And then Dan Panosian, sci-fi noir that packs a punch. Like Jason Sean Alexander, who does Philadelphia, and he's coming back with a new creator, or he's reprinting his old creator-owned property and doing some new stuff with it. I don't know when that's coming out. I've heard him talk about it online though, but I like how honest he is. I've only seen a preview, but it's everything I love about comics and some crazy shit I've never seen before. Like, so I mean, already, like, I mean, you've got 4 icons of art speaking highly of it, and then okay, so James Powell's helping edit it. That's awesome. I love his stuff.
Yeah, James is great.
And then you got a great letter of Troy Pateri. And then Tim Daniels doing your cover and book design. Man, you're in such a good position. I feel like, right? Like, it's just like you dress for success, and maybe some of it happened accidentally or serendipitously, or however you want to say that, right? But
yeah, it
happened, and it's happening, and it's fucking cool. Like, I'm excited.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone's excitement, because my excitement seems to implode. I really am excited, but I'm always bracing for downfall.
No, I'm very guilty of the same. A lot of my friends say that about me, because a lot of good stuff's been happening to me lately, and over my podcasting career, like, I've been very lucky with some stuff, and I'm always just like, things could be better, and my friends are like, it's pretty cool though, Blake. Like, it's, you're doing some pretty cool shit. And I'm like, I guess whatever, like,
I mean, if only one of those 4 people said something, as nice as they said about my work, if only one of them had said, I'd be over the moon. But somehow I got 4 people to say beautiful things about me. And yet somehow there's still a void in my life, and I don't understand it. I really wish that wasn't like that, because what they said is mind-blowing, and it expands my heart 3 sizes, but being me, how
did you go about getting did you reach out to some people you just respect and say, like, hey, I'm doing this, you want to make me sound
essentially
really cool?
So they've been all those all those gents have been following me, throughout the years,
Nice.
and saying nice things. So I kind of took a gamble and reached out to a few people that I thought, maybe were interested in maybe helping me promote this in some small way. And I was blown away by what each and every one of them had to say. So yeah, I'm very appreciative of everything they've said and done. Yeah.
And from what I've seen, like I'll say what Jason Alexander said, like, from the preview I've seen, and today I got to catch a glimpse of some high res images of that crazy 22-page spread, right? And like, I haven't seen anything like this. Like I said, it's this new age sci-fi noir, like, celebration of like what Frank Miller paved the way, and now you've taken the snow shovel out of his hands, and you're like, hold my beer, Frank, I'll clear the fucking driveway, babies.
I'd never say that to Frank.
I wouldn't either, but I'll say it to you online. I don't know, Frank Miller's, I just feel like, I don't know if I could even say anything to Frank Miller. I'd be like,
I tell the story. I tell a really quick story because it was a really quick action event that happened to me. But I met him once personally. I was at San Diego Comic-Con years ago. I was very liquored, and he walked into one of the bars, and I was just like, I had enough courage in me to just say, okay, I'm going for it. Nice. And so I ran up to him. I just came out of nowhere. Poor guy probably was shitting his pants. and he had like 4 security guys around him, and I bust right past them, and I just shook his hand, and I said, well, I'm trying to remember exactly what I said because it was a blur and I was wasted. But I essentially said that, Ronan was the reason why I got into comics. I admire everything that you do. And I'm pleased to meet you. And I shook his hand and I left. And that was it. He didn't say a word. I don't even know if he understood what I said. But I wanted to make sure that I met him and got out as fast as I could without any sort of like, it was awesome. One of those things where like, I'm just going to do this. And that was my one time I met Frank Miller.
I love the blasting past the security guards part.
Oh yeah, because they weren't expecting it at all, I don't think. And I just moved right in between. They had 2 guys kind of in front and 2 guys in behind them. And either they were looking the wrong way at the time or whatever, but I just got right in between them and I shook his hand. Like, I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to get my ass kicked. But I got out of there. I didn't overstay my welcome. That's for sure. It was maybe a 10-second interaction. It wasn't even an interaction because he didn't say anything. It was just a diatribe. I just went, and then I was out of there. And but yeah, that's a fun memory.
That's awesome.
It's a fun memory of mine.
I was kind of bummed, man. He's doing some new variants, right? And he's playing with his art style a little bit, and he's kind of trying something a little different. Yeah. And like, first of all, to be at that stage of your career when you could easily just phone something in and do the same old and get a check from Marvel, and a lot of people do that. And I'm not throwing shade. Like, if you're at that level of your artistic capability and you don't, and playing it safe can remain lucrative for you, like, good for you. That means you had a hell of a career. But for him to like come out and try something new, and so many people were hypercritical of those covers, right? And of course, like, every one of them that said something, I'm sure, can draw a better one, right? I said no. And like, it just even if it's not for you, like, it really bums me out how some people in our community, because there's a lot of great, as you know, because you've done a lot of social media interactions with people, and you're about to do even more through this campaign and once you start your own podcast and stuff. But we have a cool community. Like, there's so many great people, and like, there's a lot of people that are just excited to talk. And then, like I mentioned earlier, like, getting to do these interviews, which you're about to start finding out, like, when you get to talk to your icons and these people you respect, and just like how great it can be, and fun and rewarding, but still just how many people want to go out of their way to step on something or piss on it, and then like be real vocal about it and name drop people. And it really bummed me out, man. It's because he's, regardless of whether you like his art or not, because art's subjective, right? It's everything's got something for somebody, and some things aren't for anybody. but there will still be one person out there probably that likes it. But like I just don't. It takes so much extra energy to be nasty. It really does. Like, it's just it boggles my mind. But yeah, it was crazy because I didn't even really know that they were Frank Miller pieces at first. That's how different they look, right? And it was just kind of like it's like that fucking hard boiled noir, but a little bit of like cell shading animation style kind of, right? It was just like a little brighter, a little more colorful, and not as harsh around the edges. And I was like, huh, but that's like that's kind of cool. It's cool he's trying something new. And then of course, like you look online and everybody's like, did you see these variants? And I'm just like, man, like
well, the thing is, the people that are shitting on Frank Miller for doing all that stuff, they're not artists.
Yeah.
They're people that are disgruntled, wannabe type people. Most of them have probably had blue checks on their so I, it's the negativity, just general negativity online that really makes me sad. If you don't like something, you don't need to publicly shit on it. You just move along. There's no need to talk about the things you don't like, talk about the things that you do like. So on that level, it's disappointing. It's sad, but the people that are yapping about it they're waste of skin, really. Anyway, so whatever. I think that I was asked my opinion a number of times on this, on like the actual artwork, and again, like you say, art is subjective, so it doesn't really matter what I think. But I will say that for me the Dark Knight, or sorry, the Moon Knight one is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Like
it's good.
There's no way you can even say anything bad about that one.
Yeah.
I didn't see there was a Blade one that actually I didn't see. And then I saw the Thing and the Wolverine one. And I will say that I think the problem, I think one of the reasons why I got such bad reaction is that I don't think, and no knock on the colorists, but I don't think the colorists understood how to really color Frank Miller. I actually saw the Wolverine one without color, and it's fucking great.
Interesting.
Yeah, the color, they tried to, they had some model shading of the deltoids and stuff. Like, it was just sort of like, you don't need to do that. When I saw it in black and white, I was like, there's you can't throw sand in his face for this either. So I think that one of the big things about it is just like his work tends to, for me anyways, works better black and white. It's sort of kind of,
I'll agree with that.
But the fact that he's however old he is and he's still doing work that he's passionate about, power to him. I can't believe anyone would ever try to take that away from him. To me, that's just ignorance. So
exactly. I used to be kind of picky about black and white comics. I remember I think I might have told the story last night. I got one of those old X-Men like essential collections, and it showed up, and I got it for like real cheap on eBay, and I opened it up and it was black and white, and I was like, what? I was like, what the hell? Like, no wonder this was $7. Like, I got so mad. And then, and it's funny because like now I'm really into manga, and I appreciate black and white art, and really, really being able to see that line work and focus on inking and stuff, and how rewarding that experience can be, really. And so, yeah, it's like, I'm totally into it now. Like I'm with you. Like Frank's work, it almost like has to be black. I like sometimes when like the yellow and like the singular color comes in too. Like, but that's so rare and random in like Sin City, and it just kind of like the punch that it gives is. But I mean, like looking at these full tilt pages, man. Like, I was thinking of like, what if someone colored some of these pages, and like, no, like I think it would lose. It would lose that kind of hard boiled grit that you want within it, right?
It was never going to be color, like, ever. Even if I could afford a colorist, it was never going to be color. My sensibilities run black and white. What you're talking about being able to see the line work, like black and white to me just is about as close as you're going to get to being able to experience the drawing process of somebody.
And
You
not have
know,
someone staring over your shoulder.
yeah. Well, this is after the fact, but you know what I mean. Like you just get more to the. For me, it feels like you get closer to the essence of the mark making that person did when it's in black and white. In color, it creates a new reality. It shifts, you know, your expectations. You're not seeing exactly what the artist put down. You're seeing a collaboration, which is great. But for me, I'm really most interested in the process of drawing and the marks that people make. And for me, black and white is as close as you can get to that to that experience. So I actually, black and white is my preferred format. If I had a choice between a color comic and a black and white comic, I would take the black and white one. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're one of the previous big books you did. Pun intended, because it's a huge book you did, both in page length and with the characters. Destroy All Monsters, like, is another black and white comic, but you know, and I mentioned this in the green room that I've read a chunk of that. It's like the omnibus is like almost it's closer to 400 pages than not, and
yeah,
and it's a big girthy boy, and like, but it reads very quickly too. You know, it's very it's like how I mentioned how I feel like Full Tilt's going to be like it like. It's real easy to read, like, boom, you've read like 50 pages, right? And you're like, whoa, like that was fast. And then but another cool way to appreciate your detailed line work and the black and white aspect, but your style has evolved quite a bit since then. I think, like, you're using heavier inks and starker blacks and like the Full Tilt pages I've seen, and like the Destroy All Monsters didn't have that heaviness of an ink, and I'm that harsh juxtaposition with the darks and the lights that we see in Full Tilt, which I love, and I think really makes a lot of these pages pop. That starkness wasn't as apparent in Destroy All Monsters for whatever reason. And so, like, what happened, like, over the years that like led, like, you were like, I have to get darker, like, it's like,
yeah. I think that because of the genre, the Kill a Monster stuff is a little more, I want to say, whimsical. It's Michael writes it. I wrote because I wrote Full Tilt. You know, it's coming from a very specific, and I drew it. It's coming from a very specific vision. Whereas Kill All Monsters is collaborative, and Michael writes in a much a little more playful style. You know, and so I think that the art had to kind of reflect that. It's not a hard boiled type story, so the kind of high contrasty artwork that you see in Full Tilt, I don't think would actually lend itself very well to Kill All Monsters. So when Mike and I start doing more Kill All Monsters, which is coming, I'll be going back to that sort of more open style. Also,
so
because
it was stylistic and genre based. It wasn't just you finding a new element to your style.
No, I don't think so. I think that just the genre and the material that is in Full Tilt kind of dictated the style. It just felt like it needed heavier blacks. And also because in Kill All Monsters, I did do grayscales for it, so it did help give it its own sense of reality. Whereas Full Tilt is just black and white. Has like digital zip tone, so there's a half tone in it, but there's no gray. I didn't other than, you know, like dry brush or, you know, visual sort of gray that it makes, but there's no gray scaling in it. So, you know, that sort of lends itself to a different sort of aesthetic, and it helps tell a different kind of story than if it were in Kill a Monster. So so the genre and the material that was in the book helped sort of dictate what the art style was going to be like.
but also still very violent. There's still like lots of people get cut into pieces. Robots get acid thrown on them and caught on fire, and like these monsters like tentacles get ripped off and stuff.
yeah.
And Full Tilt is also showing coming out to be very bloody and explosive and violent.
Oh yeah.
Is it ever hard to make something so violent like simultaneously so beautiful and visually rewarding? Like, is that ever like a struggle for you, like where you're like, I want to go bloody, I want to go hard, and I want to be mean, right? I want to be mean on these pages and mean to these characters, and then also make it like a fucking museum piece or something. Like I mean, that can't just have, maybe it does, maybe you're just like art ninja and it happens organically and you don't even think about it, and you're just like, no, Blake, I'm just that good. I sit down, I draw, and the magic happens. Or is that something you think about when you're thinking of like layouts and viewpoint and panel progression and stuff, and you're like how do I take this violence and make it art?
Yeah, for sure. There's like I was saying before, there's plenty of stuff in this book that no one has seen. My editor and Tim Daniel and myself and I think one other person, I'm trying to remember who. And Troy. Those are the only people that have seen all the pages. And there's a sequence in the middle. It's a gladiatorial battle in this huge arena. It's a death match sort of thing, and there is a moment in that in kind of like the climax of that scene that is fucking brutal. And again, I had to try to make that not only brutal but beautiful, something to look at, and I think I succeeded. But it's brutal. My grandma's really excited that this book is being made, and she wants to have a copy, but I'm very nervous.
To give her one.
I'm very nervous about the fact that she will flip through and see some of these things that, I don't know if my grandma should really see it. But, it's and again, it's not gratuitous. I don't think that I drew anything like there's no stuff like crossed, crossed. There's none of that fucking crazy stuff.
Which I also was a sick fucking puppy, and like I remember reading that volume 1, and I was like, what?
Like, I couldn't. I closed it as fast as I could. But there are things in this book that are pretty harsh, but not in a cross sort of way. That I think they needed to be there. They're not gratuitous in terms of like, I just want to like freak people out, and like it was a natural progression in the story and for the characters to go through some of these things. So but yeah, I did have to try to make some very brutal things, palatable and nice to look at in some sort of way. Yeah.
Well, man, like I said, everything I've seen from this and seen from you and seen from the high regard that the industry holds you in, this is a definite back for me. I know it's an expensive book, but it's also 320 pages. It's a big book, right? It's big, it's oversized.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice. If enough of you lazy motherfuckers get out there and back this, it'll be real nice with that lay flat spine, which like, I'm with you, man. It's because that's one thing when I read my omnibuses, I bought a lap desk, and you can like, Marvel's pretty stay flat. You got to kind of stretch them. You got to kind of do yoga with them when you first get them. But like after that, they open pretty nice. DC's, I buy a lot of DC omnibuses. They have a couple things they could learn about. Anyway, stay flat binding is very cool. So like, what's 10,000 when he's already at 40, right? Like just make it happen, ladies and gentlemen. Again, man, this has been like, getting to talk to you online, getting to know you, and doing this interview with you was an honor to me. And it's just like, you're a really cool dude. And I'm really glad that like good things are happening for you. And I'm so glad that like this campaign is doing not only what you wanted to do, but exceeding what you thought it would do. And because I do feel like this endeavor of yours, it deserves the biggest audience it can get, and and you deserve, in my opinion, a nice fucking payday for all the hard work you've put in for it. And I hope you get all that, because I really do think you deserve it. And I hope a cool publisher realizes that too, and gives you a good deal. Like I feel like, as much as I know about publishing and comic books, it would feel silly to let this kind of go off into the sunset, and whoever didn't back this campaign, like maybe that's it, unless you get like a digital copy from you or something, or something, or like, so yeah, it feels like a publisher should be smart, and take a risk and pick this up and re-release it. Like I said, it happens so much, man. Like, part of me likes the idea of like, yeah, cool, finally a crowdfunding deal that's like, hey, when this is done, you might not be able to get it, because now's not always, like on Kickstarter, man, there's so many times where you spend like $15 after shipping on a single issue, and then a few months later it's in shops for $4.99, I get it, right? I get that we had to take a risk on it to get it there. But it also kind of sucks sometimes when you're broke or running out of money, and you're like, man, I wish I could have got that for $5 instead of 15, right? Now this isn't ever going to be like a $5 endeavor, right? Even if it's a soft cover trade, it's a 320-page graphic novel. Like, you're going to have to pay for it. So why not pay for it now? Why not get this beautifully designed Tim Daniel book? Tim Daniel works at Scout Lady, or not? He works at Vault, and he does a lot of great comic book logos for these indie comic books that you've come to love and adore. Tim has probably worked on a lot of them. He does so many logos. He does so much book design. He's a wonderful artist. He's a wonderful storyteller. And yeah, having him on this book is just like, makes me excited to see the final production, because a nicely produced book is like book design. I've really come to appreciate that. And I'm not just saying that because I recently started work at Metal Ninja Studios, and that's one of the things that we do for our clients, but just from like what I've backed on Kickstarter, and how you can tell sometimes, like, wow, they did like the exact bare minimum of like what they could do to put this trade together. And then sometimes it's like, oh, like this has spot gloss and a thicker cover than the pages, or like those soft cover gatefold covers. I kind of like those too, right? And just maybe some embossed lettering or an embossed title and some bonus pages. And you can just tell when that extra effort is put into that production, and Tim brings that sauce to the dinner table, right? And so like, I'm so excited to see this final product that comes, and I just want to read it so bad. Oh my god, man. Jason can attest too. Like, when he was asking, he was like, Blake, I want to come on the show, and I was like, cool, when do I get to read it? And he's like, dude, it's not even lettered yet. And I just kept now, and I don't want to sound like a prima donna or whatever, but a lot of times I do get to read the issue like before people come on. And it does, like, me well enough, like, and you mentioned that you like that I'll talk about whatever, right? Like, we make sure we cross the T's and dot the I's, but I'll talk about whatever. And one of the ways I'm able to do that, Jason, is because I'm well read with my guests. And so if I run out of shit to say, which is rare, but if like, I don't have to deal with dead air, because when I feel that lowdown happening, that's when I bring it back to the book, right? And I'll be like, okay, let's talk about this part of the book I liked and remind people of why we're here. And I was like, man, I hope Jason's cool, because like, no, I mean, I could have talked. I didn't even have to talk about Destroy All Monsters a lot. Like, I was ready to talk about that for a while, but you're super easy to talk to, and you're fun and knowledgeable, and again, makes me excited for your upcoming podcast. I think you're going to be a great podcast host, and I'm really excited to see you get some guests, some cool guests, and talk about art. And with your standing in the community and doing what you do, you're going to have a lot easier time getting guests than I do, probably, or at least than I did when I launched my podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you're gonna be able to start strong with some cool people that just want to be on your show to talk to you. And so that's gonna be cool to keep an eye out for. So I've kept you for over an hour. You're just so damn charming and easy to talk to, sir. But you've successfully gotten me even more excited about this campaign. I really, really hope our listeners check it out as well. $10,000 is a lot of money, but with 2 more weeks and what's already happened to this campaign, it's not an outlandish thing to kind of, you know, keep an eye on that stretch goal and maybe it happens. But I encourage everybody to really check this out. I think it's going to be a great book. And yeah, there's a digital copy available and you can save a little bit of money, but this is going to be something you want to hold, that you want on your shelf, that you want to feel the pages in your fingers when you turn it. You want to have that visceral element and how you're like actually connected to the book, like mentally and physically. I feel like you're going to want that. You know, it's going to make this even better. And again, I already feel like this is going to be a book where, you know, later on in life, or when the new comics are boring you and you can reach for full tilt and jump right into the fucking chaos and you know, find something new in it. I feel like it's going to be worthwhile. It's going to be a book that you can read many times and not grow tired of, I feel like. And I'm just so happy for you, dude. Like I said, you're nothing but kind to your fans and your peers online. You have a great attitude about everything, and you're so damn humble. Oh my God. Like I would be so cocky if I was you. No,
Oh, man.
but you know, I'm really glad good things are happening, and I wish you like just the absolute best in what's to come. And I hope the rest of the campaign goes easy on you. And then when you're doing all those remarks and sketches, I hope you don't chew your hand off or whatever.
No. I love drawing the characters. So, you know,
Nice.
Part of me was like, oh, maybe we should add some more. But you know, I kind of want to be able to at some point close the door on this. So
Yeah.
if I add more, then it just takes longer.
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, it's because people snagged them up real quick. But yeah, it does take time, and then adds time to fulfillment, and then you gotta like you know, you're gonna have to repack them and ship them back after you draw them and do that, you know.
Well, yeah. See, what we're doing is that I'm drawing them. I won't be drawing them in the book. I'll be drawing them on. So we're gonna get the pages printed that I'm going to draw on. They're going to get shipped to me. I'm going to draw, and then I'm going to send them back, and then they get bound in.
Oh, okay. So that'll be okay. That's going to be that makes so much more sense. But
yeah,
still a lot of doodling and messing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking you were gonna have to send like like a freight of like these like fully bound books back and forth.
Gone are any profits. Like I don't even know what I'm gonna make on this. After the tax man and shipping and all that, I might make nothing. But shipping it back and forth, oh, you might as well just kiss it all goodbye.
Yeah.
Shipping to Canada and from Canada is so expensive that
it's a bummer. I always see, like, when I see a lot of you Canadian eBayers got some books I'd like to buy, and for a second you're like, that's a good price. Oh, I got to pay double and shit. Like, you know, like it's just
it's insane.
I a couple of Canadian buddies that do a lot of Kickstarter stuff, and that was always a deal. Like my buddy in Australia, he backs a lot of Kickstarters, and he gets killed on shipping, and all power to those guys, though. They still back cool projects and pay for them. And so I you know, this says something to how much you love the community and the industry and the medium when you're willing to pay that tax that you know sometimes don't have to. But yeah, man, I'm just so happy for you, dude, for real. Like, and I'm excited for all this to end, and for you, and so that you can take a breather, and I can read the book, and you can launch your podcast, and I can check that out, because I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I will, like, I do want to check yours out and see some of the cool guests you end up getting. Just because from a reviewer perspective, you know, I'm pretty good with words, but I do struggle sometimes when I talk about art, and I feel like I talk about art similarly a lot, and I would like to be able to write about it more thoroughly and more capably. And I feel like listening to a podcast where two artists geek out on each other's work, I feel like I should be able to learn something like that. Maybe, no pressure, but you know, take me to school, Jason.
Slow down. Don't be putting any preconceived notions on this.
So this is the polite podcast host that I am. This is the part we've already posted the link in the chat. You guys can click that Zoop link, go check out the campaign. Back this book. It's going to be something special, like, for real. I really, really think I don't think there's going to be a naysayer to be had. I think everybody's going to be happy to drop that sum of money and to get something great to experience. And but where I know we kind of talked about that. You know, you're on the socials. Like tell it where's a good place to follow you. And have you? I know you were talking about a Substack. Maybe do you have a newsletter or anything we can sign up for?
Yeah, I do. I'm on Substack. The problem is every time I put one out, although I've only done 2, but every time I put one out, I lose 3 people. So I'm a little hesitant to even tell people about it. Yeah, I'm in there. I don't even know how you find it. I'm so new to Substack. I was on MailChimp forever, and
they raised the prices.
Like, I got to get out of here because it's a hellscape. So, so I moved that over, and I actually don't know how to promote it. I'm Jason. It's Jason Copland's Magical Newsletter. I don't know if you just put that into a search thing when you're on Substack or whatever. Yeah. So I have that. And then on the socials, I'm just at Jason Copland. No E in Copland. I'm at Jason Copland on pretty much everything. I even just got Blue Sky. I'm Jason Copland on that too. So
oh, nice.
Although it's Jason Copland
weird shit.
.social or something stupid.
Well, remember your favorite interviewee when you get those Blue Sky invites.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I was very lucky. Someone sent me one.
I heard like after 2 or 3 weeks you get a few. Like I think like they kind of like let you there and they make sure that you're not going to like set the place on fire and then they throw you. So I don't know. That's what I heard. I don't know. It's a land that I'm not privy to yet.
Yeah, well, you're not missing a whole lot right now because I think I'm followed by like 9 people and I follow 13 people. And I posted once that said like, "Where's the party at?" I think that's all. So yeah, right now it's
pretty chill. Yeah,
you're not missing too much, but you know, hopefully it picks up and we can get the fuck out of Twitter. I hate that place. I really do. But that's essentially where I post. I post mostly on Twitter and a little bit on Instagram. But again, I'm at Jason Copland for pretty much all media stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, I did. It's super easy to find. If you Google Jason Copland Magical Newsletter, it'll pop up. Or I found that link, jasoncopland.substack.com.
There you go.
You can sign up. He's got paid and free tiers for you that you can check out. So yeah, make sure to check that out. Make sure to give him a follow. And again, hit up that Zoop campaign and just check it out. Like I double dare you to just kind of like go over those preview pages and read that solicit and just really walk away saying that's not something I want to read. And if it is, I don't want to fucking talk to you. No, I'm just kidding. Please still watch my show, even if you don't like Jason's art. I'm just kidding. Oh man. But yeah, give him a follow. Like Jason's really good people. And yeah, he's gonna have a cool podcast coming. It may be a little bit, but you know, it's something to look forward to. Good things come to those who wait, right? As we now know, after the sweltering 5-year, walk along creativity you've done, this half a decade long experience that you now have laid out onto paper and is about to be real, right? You're about to be able to hold it in your hand. Well, I guess you already have. You've held the paper.
That's what's so cool is that it is going to be real. Being at the end of this whole adventure, being able to hold the book is something that is really, it'll probably bring a tear to this old man's eye.
Yeah, man, I've cried over a lot less bullshit. I guarantee you that. I'm very much my father's son. My dad used to be a crazy bartender, and the older he gets, like after he had open heart surgery, he tears up a lot, and even our friends kind of joke around about it. They're like, when like good stuff happens, they're like, "Did your dad cry?" And then everybody's like, "Yeah, he did." But
that's no sign of weakness.
Oh no, totally not. It's just it's just different. He's so much different than the wild bartender dad I had growing up, right? But I'm very much, like I get real emotional. When I got my first pull quote on the back of a book, I teared up, and like, just so stuff like that happens to you, and it's my dad told me he was proud of me. And I know he's, like, I don't have like that kind of family where that's never been said, right? But like when the podcast did some cool stuff and I got nominated for an award, and I didn't win, but I still got nominated. And my dad, who doesn't give a shit about comic books, right? But he was like, just want you to know I'm proud of you. And I was like, oh, fuck you, Dad. Like, I was like, I wasn't ready for that. But no, I like, shed those tears, baby. Like, let that hard work flow through you, and just enjoy every good moment, right? Because they are, sometimes they're few and far between, but it seems you're having a lot of them lately, and I'm happy for you.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, keep knocking. Well, Jason, this is such a pleasure, for real, man. Anytime, if you ever want to come back on the show, or if you ever have, when the Monsters book comes back, man, if you ever want to do something, I'd love to have you back on. Anything Blake's Buzz can ever do for you, I'm happy to help. And just thanks for coming. And it was an honor to talk and laugh, and thanks for giving me a sneak peek of those pages, like to see those full res images, man. Like, you guys don't know, you don't know what's coming to you for $50 plus shipping. Like, go get it. No, I won't spoil anything, but yeah, it's I know I'm so long, it's so hard for me to end shows. But yeah, man, I really appreciate it. And I mean, unless you got anything else you want to shout out, I'll play the music, and you can get back to your day and sitting around making money.
Yeah, no, I just yeah, right. I just want to say I appreciate everything you've said, man. I really do, and I thank you so much for your support and for all the nice words, for sure.
No, man, it wasn't a lie. I mean, Jason did not pay me to say anything. Zoop did not pay me to say anything. I do have clients paying me. These are not one of them. Everything I said has been just full of truth and excitement, and I can't recommend this campaign enough. And yeah, I'm excited to see what it does in the next 2 weeks. I hope you get another pop, man, because traditionally with crowdfunders, is that you get that 2 week lull, and then like the last few days, you get the people that were waiting around that finally are like, oh, I guess I better do it, and then so then you get that little pop at the end. So hopefully it's a $10,000 pop. And hopefully we get that stay flat. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's pretty much, it's sort of, if it falls anywhere short, if it falls anywhere between 40 and 50, it's sort of, whatever. If it makes 50, like, what? Because that binding is something that I really want.
Yeah,
but it's expensive. And because thankfully, with the support of so many people, there's a lot of books that are going to have to be made. So for every book that lay flat binding for every book just puts the cost up. So so getting to 50 will allow me to do that and not go in the red. So, but if we don't get there, the support has been fantastic from everyone, and I can't thank everyone enough.
Yeah, it's so cool to see everyone rally behind you. Yeah. Like I said, everybody, please go check it out. Even if you can't afford it, I guess, even if you're one of those weirdos that say this isn't for them, like whatever, retweet it, share it, tell someone will be cool enough to appreciate it, even if you're not, I promise. but sharing helps. It really does. Like, if you can't afford it, if it's a little too expensive, a simple retweet goes such a long way. Really, really, really does. So, consider doing that, even if you're unable to back at this time. But check it out. Check Jason out. Give him a follow. Subscribe to his Substack. Everybody, remember: love more, hate less. Read comics. We say it, we believe it, we feel it, we live by it. And we really do. And I feel like Jason is one of those people too. He seems like a really good dude, and he's just very approachable, and he's just happy to be here. And when you're on Blake's Buzz and you're happy to be here, where there's something special about you, I tell you that much. Well, good, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And yeah, man, I hope these last 2 weeks are easy for you, and then you can kind of just sit back and relax until those sketch pages comes in, at least.
Oh, thanks so much, man.
No problem. Have a good night, Jason.
You too.
It's Blake's Buzz Live.